Hello guys, hello, and welcome to the very special week, or 2 weeks we've gone started now, because before I start, massive spoilers in this video, many spoilers, but not too many if you're only now joining in. If you're watching live, guys, let me know in the comment section, or if you're watching back, let me know in the down below, so you guys don't get spoiled. I will give you a thing at the end once I'm finished where timestamps and stuff like that should be down below. If I haven't spoiled too many things, then the timestamps won't be down there. But if you do not want to be spoiled, what I would do, guys, is go and watch the film and then come back to this drawing video, because today we're going to be drawing Iron Man from the End Game film that's just come out, Infinity War. As you can see here, I've started drafting up already. I've drafted up just a quick picture for what I want to get done, but I've done a quick sketch of something for next week, but you'll have to find out what that one is next week. But yeah, guys, big drop here. If you haven't seen the Infinity War, again, this is going to be a big spoiler video if you haven't seen it, but if you have seen it, you'll know exactly what this pose is and the words "I am Iron Man" mean, because he was and will forever be now immortalized as Iron Man, because he's gone and done for Logan, hasn't he, guys? I'll kind of leave it like that for a minute, because what I really just want to get concentrating on the drawing today. Like I said, I've already done a little quick sketch because I was having trouble getting along live today. But today we're going to be using my normal pencil, which is my mechanical pencil, which basically means you pump the top and the pencil comes out. And then you've got your ordinary sketching pencils that I'll be using. You generally use these for shading in, which will be coming into a later on video. Don't forget to keep tuning in for that one, guys. And yeah, we'll keep going. We also need a rubber. You always need a rubber, especially if you're using pencil. But once we get to the stage which is my favorite, we will be using my pen, which is a fine line, not the sketchy pen. I said Sharpie pen, not sponsored. So yeah, let's get drawing. Let's get sketching. And I am going to be listening again, guys. I'm going to be listening to the Infinity War reviews today. I didn't personally do a review myself. Consider these next few videos a review of the films. What I feel that the people are saying I'm going to be listening to. First, I'm going to be listening to Caravan of Garbage, I believe. It may be somebody else by the same company. They are on YouTube, and if you want to know, guys, who I'm listening to, because you find them really cool, then ask for a link down below if I haven't already put that in there. It all depends on what I'm going to be listening to in this live stream before I put the links in, because I never really know. I sort of pick and choose as I'm going along. As you know, guys, my name is Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games. And I said I got a giveaway. This here comic, or I say annual comic, is going to be given away. If you have not read this yet yourself, guys, it's definitely worth reading. If you have caught up in any of the other films, again, this is definitely worth reading. And if you would like to win it, all you got to do, guys, is give me, the rules are, you have to give me a hell yeah in the comment section down below, and also come over to Instagram, which is where the announcement of the winner will be. Come over there and give me a hell yeah in the PM, or on one of the posts that I will be posting in the next couple weeks. Again, guys, if you would like to win, you have to give me a hell yeah, that's HELL, yeah, in the comment section, or go over to Instagram, and go over to Instagram and do the same over there. My name is Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games. And if you haven't been keeping up with us, guys, we do play games in the evening, so don't forget to tune in and don't forget to subscribe to keep up with what's going on with this one. I will be continuing on in a moment, but keep up with what's going on with this one, and I will be digitizing towards the end of the month. I've got four things that I want to be digitizing, and that is the aim of next month, to digitize the work that I haven't been able to digitize for you guys, because I know you guys have been waiting. So thank you for your patience. I'm going to get some drawing done, and I'm also going to be listening to the Caravan of Garbage. But I don't think it's Caravan of Garbage. I think it's Mr. Sundays. That's the one. Mr. Sundays. He's really funny. Don't forget, if you want to find out where I get them from, ask for a link down below if there isn't already one posted there.
Avengers Endgame being the culmination of 22 films over
spoilers, guys. Just to pre-warn you, there is now going to be spoilers.
Characters, links to almost all films in the MCU, locations visited, comics that are referenced, and more. This video aims to cover all of those, as well as some of the confusing timeline elements and what happens after the credits. These are the topics that we'll be covering. If you don't want to jump to anything in particular, there are time codes in the description. And remember, spoilers. Spoilers for any and all things Endgame related, but you knew that already because you're not an idiot. And that's why right now, I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up. I really hope so, because I am so desperate for validation. It's embarrassing. Okay, characters. I'm touching on the ones I feel are most interesting or warrant an explanation. If you do want more in-depth backstory for the likes of Iron Man or Captain America, well, there's about a dozen or so movies between them that you are very much able to catch up on. Right, so this movie introduces us to an intelligent version of the Hulk. In the comics, there's been many variations on this idea, but it probably most resembles that of Professor Hulk, who has most of the strength of the Hulk, but the mind of Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner gets slapped out of his body by the Ancient One, a character that we saw perish in Doctor Strange in 2016, and also who's in possession of the Time Stone, meaning she's aware of the role Stephen Strange will play in the future and of her own eventual fate. We get returning S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra agents in Jack Rowlands, Agent Sitwell, and Brock Rumlow's Crossbones. Two of the three of them actually end up dead in the MCU. Also, surprise cameo from Alexander Pierce, which may very well end up being Robert Redford's final on-screen appearance, because he is constantly threatening retirement. Loki returns in 2012, making an escape via the Tesseract. What does that mean for his eventual fate? As in, is he alive now? Well, we'll discuss that more in the timeline section of this video. Hawkeye, after the death of his family, makes a reappearance as Ronin, sporting a terrible haircut and sleeve tattoo. That sleeve tattoo also being a Ronin. Because, you know, do you get it? We also see the children of some Avengers. Morgan Stark, the daughter of Tony Stark, and Pepper Potts, a reference to Morgan Stark from the comics, Tony's cousin and enemy. Cassie Lang also appears as Scott Lang's aged 5 years daughter, who will also grow up to become a superhero in her own right. Plus we see Clint Barton's three children, the youngest of which is called Nathaniel Pietro Barton, named after both Natasha Romanoff and Pietro Mac.
So I'm going to pause that there a second, guys. Again, there's going to be spoilers in this video. Be warned. So we're live. As I'm sketching, guys, what I've said is I did a basic circle for the face. As you all know by now, this is how I do my videos, and this is how I sketch. Did the basics, mapped out where the eyes, the nose, and the mouth roughly is going to be. Again, this is going to be, I'm going to be trying to keep that as close to Danny Jr. as possible. The true Iron Man, I believe. I'm going to be sort of sketching as I see the picture in front of me, but the picture's over there on my other television because my screen that's normally there is broken. So I just got a message on Instagram there. But yeah, so it was very important to map out where you put your face and your eye, and this is the best way to do it. Draw a basic circle, draw a cross or an X on the middle, and yeah, you'll get the center of the face. So we get either eye side, so you get a nice equal side of each. And then you do the same for the eyes. Give the eye level. Eye level is always just on ears. So that's why I put these two lines here and here. These lines will give you the place where you want to put the ears on your character or whatever you're drawing. It works for every face, because all faces are pretty much made up the same way, unless you're creating your own character. I've seen people with eyes up here. I think that's a really cool idea, and I might do something out in the future. But today, we're going to be carrying on with doing some more Iron Man, and I'm going to get on with his face. Like, that was just quick. I'm telling you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be really trying to concentrate on the eyes, the nose, and the mouth to get everything right, because obviously I'll put the beard in afterwards. Then I'll shape the face. If I don't get all of this done in tonight's video, guys, I will carry on tomorrow, if not tonight, and get it done. But yeah, as I've got a couple of weeks that I'm trying to sort of really concentrating on these couple of pictures, I'm going to be sort of getting on as much as possible. That's why I've got something playing in the background. As further on the week goes, I will be listening to some comics. Again, if you want to win that comic, let me know in the comment section. If you're watching here now live, then you can have a chat and talk to me about Infinity War if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it.
Maximoff, Quicksilver, as he's more commonly referred to. Both modern day and young Hank Pym make an appearance. In the past, we see what is a prototype of the Ant-Man helmet, looking remarkably similar to what is seen in the original comics. Also, in what to me was an absolute shocking revelation, real human person and Stark butler Jarvis actually appears in the 1970s as played by James Darcy. I say shocking because the movies don't often reference the TV series, if ever, and this is a direct nod to Agent Carter. And speaking of, we get the return of Peggy Carter, plus also an image of her niece Sharon Carter, who died in the snap. Who really cares? It was a weird chemistry. What's interesting, though, about her return is that it said in The Winter Soldier that Captain America saved her husband during World War II, and then she went on to have children with that man.
He saved over 1,000 men, including the man who would become my husband, as it turned out.
We never got confirmation on who this might be, but in Steve Rogers traveling back to the 40s to live out his life, that would mean he effectively altered this from happening. There's hints in Agent Carter that man would end up being one of her colleagues, but with the cancellation of that series, we never saw it play out. Unless Peggy Carter never actually got married, and that was a false story she created to cover the fact that Steve Rogers, in every timeline, goes back to be with Peggy, and that he is the real father of the children seen. But again, all this is very unclear at this point in time. Jane Foster returns in what is footage straight from Thor: The Dark World. Natalie Portman has expressed disinterest in reprising this role, so I wouldn't really count on another appearance from her anytime soon. Frigga, Thor's mother, also returns, played again by Rene Russo. Meek and Korg reappear after being introduced in Ragnarok. Korg again is being portrayed by director Taika Waititi, clothed very similarly to how that director sometimes dresses in real life. During Tony Stark's funeral, we also get a stack of returning characters. Some of the ones I haven't mentioned already include Hope and Janet Van Dyne, Maria Hill, General Ross, May Parker, Harley Keener, a grown-up Iron Man 3 kid, and Nick Fury. Director Joe Russo also appears in Captain America's therapy group as a man who lost his husband in the snap and is trying to date again. Previously, he has played both Dr. Fine in The Winter Soldier and Dr. Theo Broussard in Civil War. Also, there's a deleted scene from Infinity War where he rolls in as a member of the paparazzi. And in what is said to be Stan Lee's last cameo in the MCU, but we'll see about that. He's seen driving a car with a bumper sticker, "Nuff said," one of his catchphrases, and he's also de-aged to look like he did in the 1970s. Okay, MCU.
And that there, guys, was
this is a lot.
horrendous.
So I'll try to
No, I
streamline
didn't
this
do him justice.
as much as possible into movies that are relevant to each character. So please, hold on to your butts, or your America's ass. It's a reference to the movie. You probably get it, you've seen it. For Captain America, when he's fighting himself, he tells himself that he can do this all day, a line now synonymous with that character. The reason that past Captain America thinks that future Captain America is Loki is because Loki is shown to be able to shapeshift. He even became Captain America briefly in Thor: The Dark World. Prior to this fight, though, he gets in an elevator with a bunch of Hydra agents. And it looks as if things are again going to kick off with another brutal, close-quarters fight. However, he avoids this by whispering, "Hail Hydra," as we saw members of Hydra uproaring to do in The Winter Soldier. When old Steve Rogers appears at the end, it also seems as if he's wearing his Super Soldier Serum pre-transformation tan jacket from the first Avenger. In reference to Thor, we get him going for Thanos' head, as he was told to do in Infinity War. Gone for the head. I would have gone for the balls. I've talked about it before. There's an animation about it. It's not important, but look, either is fine, I guess. Mjolnir also returns, with it still deeming Thor worthy. And also, Captain America has a bloody swing with it. More on that a bit later, but there's definitely a hint of that in Age of Ultron. Rocket is also called a rabbit by the Asgardians, which is what Thor has previously referred to him as. As for Iron Man, we see that Tony Stark still has a circular scar on his chest from when he had his arc reactor removed at the end of Iron Man 3. Chitauri. Also, when we get the remaining Avengers putting their hands in before they time travel, it also resembles this original arc reactor. Plus, at Tony Stark's funeral, we also see that original arc reactor that Pepper gifted him that says proof that Tony Stark has a heart on it. Morgan Stark also shares her father's love for cheeseburgers. It's the first thing he's after escaping the cave in Iron Man 1.
Oh, that was a very touching moment, guys.
Favreau, who directed
That made
Iron
me
Man 1.
cry.
And before snapping away Thanos and his army of Chitauri, Leviathans, giant space apes, the Outriders, plus the Black Order, Tony Stark says, "I am Iron Man," which is a very famous line at the end of the first Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
As far as the Avengers movies go, we have Thor charging Iron Man's suit for an attack, which is something he accidentally did when they first met. Thor also pauses for a second to retrieve his old hammer. That's again from first Avengers. There's also talk of creating a shield of armor around the world, and how if they lose, they'll lose together, which they do. Black Widow and Hawkeye continue to reminisce about Budapest, and the reason Hulk is initially chosen to snap his fingers with the gauntlet is because it gives off gamma radiation, which is what helped create him. We first hear of Infinity Stones in relation to gamma radiation in reference to the Tesseract at the beginning of Avengers 2012. Giant Man manages to punch a space whale out of the air, like Hulk once did, and Thanos returns to his armor from Infinity War, which he again needs because he doesn't have the protection of the stones, even though Thanos' armor from around this time, as in the Guardians movie in 2014, was a different armor. But you know, who's really keeping track of various armors? Me. I am. In the final battle among the fray, we see the return of the Asgardians, as led by Valkyrie, the Wakandans, including Shuri, Okoye, who's actually prominent at the start of the film, and M'Baku, and various wizards with magical abilities, as we see a bunch of sparky shields, first introduced in Doctor Strange. We also finally get the words Avengers Assemble, spoken by Captain America. The closest we got to this prior was at the end of Age of Ultron, with him being cut off by the end credits. We also see Spider-Man's instant kill mode in action, which it turns out is just a lot of stabbing. Alright, timeline. And if you thought the timeline was confusing, well, don't even worry about it, because it is. First off, it's interesting that the question is posed as to whether they murder baby Thanos, which is an age-old hypothetical of whether, if given the opportunity, a person would be able to kill baby Hitler, which, you know, seems like a good question for the comments. Would you kill baby Hitler? Could you strangle a baby? Is that you? Is that who you are?
But I'd do it. I mean, Hitler.
A big question is, though, in regards to Loki, and whether he's now alive again as he escapes with the Tesseract. His upcoming TV series is said to be set throughout history, with him involving himself in various prominent events. So really, it's unclear. However, it is possible that Loki is now alive again, as the rules of time travel feel a bit undetermined at this point. You see, the past versions of both Thanos and Nebula were murdered. However, modern-day Nebula remains alive, so killing your past self doesn't affect your future, implying diverging timelines or alternate realities. Then again, it is possible that the timeline is linear, because it's also said if you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future. That doesn't seem very helpful, does it? Look, it's entirely possible that when Loki escaped, he returned to Thanos, handed him over the Tesseract, and then still ended up murdered. Or he went a different way and survived. We simply do not know at this point. I've also been asked a few times about what's the deal with Peter Parker's high school. I mean, it's 5 years after the snap, and yet we're getting the return of students, including his friend Ned Leeds. The most likely explanation is that because half the students were snapped out of existence in 2018, including Ned Leeds, that means now that they're back, they'll continue their schooling. So schools are now probably a mix of students who survived to 2023 and students who disappeared in 2018. Right, locations. Time travel complicates this a little bit, but this is way easier to track. We visit the events of Thor: The Dark World, with even an image scene of the Dark Elf Malekith. Remember him? Nobody does, it's fine. Hawkeye, Nebula, Rhodey, and Black Widow visit the events of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie in 2014. We see a dancing Peter Quill on the planet Morag, location of the Power Stone, and also Vormir, where the Red Skull watches over the Soul Stone. We get to see Camp Lehigh in the 70s, which at the time housed the Tesseract, along with Pym particles, and is the workplace of Howard Stark, Hank Pym, and Peggy Carter, early and founding members of S.H.I.E.L.D. This location is also seen in both The First Avenger, as it's where Steve Rogers was trained, and The Winter Soldier, as a then shut-down facility. During the events of the Avengers in 2012, we see Stark Tower as it is before it becomes the First Avengers HQ. Also, there's the Sanctum Sanctorum, as watched over by the Ancient One, who we also see actually assisted in the Battle of New York. Clint Barton's family home is revisited, first seen in Age of Ultron, and we also get New Asgard. That's from the comics, but it's actually located located in a Norwegian fishing village, which funnily enough was also seen at the beginning of the first Avenger. Alright, time to get into comics. Professor Hulk, we talked about it. Old Captain America also rolls into town at the film's conclusion. We've seen the appearance of an old Captain America in the comics recently, after he was drained of his super soldier serum, causing him to age rapidly, much like the Mel Gibson movie Forever Young. Don't know that reference? Don't even worry about it, mate. But it's because of this he ends up passing on his mantle to that of Sam Wilson's The Falcon. Oh yeah, Sam Wilson says, on your left. You know, he says it to Captain America over the radio. I was supposed to put that in earlier. I forgot. We've also had a dead Tony Stark in the comics before. Not long ago this happened and he was revived as an AI construct. I recently made a video about this and how he may return that I'll link at the end of this. Rocket Raccoon is also seen in his traditional comic book outfit. Captain America, being worthy to lift Thor's hammer, is ripped straight from the comic Fear itself. He's one of the few characters in main continuity who has proven able to do so. Pepper Potts is also seen in a bluey, purpley Iron Man armor, implied to be that of Rescue, the superhero that she becomes in the comics. The difference here being that the comic book version is not equipped with offensive weapons and is mostly used for emergency search and rescue. Steve Rogers famously became a Hydra agent in the recent comic run Secret Empire. I bring that up because he's also seen in that comic saying the words, "Hail Hydra." We also get a bunch of female superheroes standing shoulder to shoulder, hinting to what I'm hoping becomes an A-Force movie, an all-female superhero team. Hawkeye's mother is named as Edith by the Red Skull, which is true in the comics, and Black Widow's father is also named. The only reference we've had to him prior to this is a deleted scene from Civil War.
I went back to Russia and tried to find my parents. 2 little gravestones by a chain link fence.
Carol Danvers appears with shorter hair, a style she's also sported in the comics. It also appears that she could be modelling this off Annette Bening's Marvel in the recent Captain Marvel solo movie. An original Ant-Man helmet is seen in Hank Pym's office. I already said that, sorry. And Thor again joining forces with the Guardians refers to them collectively as the Asgardians of the Galaxy, the name of a comic that began in 2018, albeit with a different roster. And it's got Frog Thor in it. Throg is his name. I think Throg might show up in the future because his hammer is forged from like a sliver of Mjolnir. Remember how that hammer was shattered? So like a frog could have picked it up? You know what I'm talking about. Iron Man is also seen sporting the Infinity Gauntlet, something he has done before in the comics. And on Captain America's name tag, when he's in disguise, it says Roscoe, which could be a nod to Roscoe Simmons, who briefly became Captain America after Steve Rogers disappeared. Also, Captain America having his shield shattered by Thanos has also happened in the comics. So that means Thanos' blade must at the very least be made of vibranium in order to do this. As we've seen with Black Panther scratching the shield in Civil War, vibranium can in fact damage vibranium. Also finally, Jim Starlin, creator of Thanos, is also seen as part of Captain America's support group. Music! This movie has it and or references it. Various themes of characters are played throughout the movie, including the Captain America theme when he's re-gifted his shield. The band Mungo Jerry is named. We hear the song Mr. Fantasy after we get the 5-year time jump at the beginning. Redbone's Come and Get Your Love plays again, which we first saw at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy. Supersonic Rocket Ship is heard when Rocket and the Hulk travel to New Asgard via Ute, or pickup. We say Ute in Australia. Tony Stark also refers to Nebula as the Blue Meanie. The villains from the Yellow Submarine. Thank you very much to Mitch, who's editing this video, for catching that one. Also, the 1945 hit that marked the end of World War II. It's been a long, long time. That's heard when Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter finally get their dance. Pop culture references, here we go. A number of lesser known and popular time travel movies are named, including Back to the Future and Hot Tub Time Machine. Just the first one, not the sequel with Christian Slater. Also, this whole movie feels very Back to the Future too, because it has characters overlapping with themselves from previous adventures. Clint Barton firing a flare arrow to reveal the appearance of the Outriders is very reminiscent of the movie Aliens, like with the bit where they're all in the vents, you know, red lighting and all. Fortnite, the video game, also got a huge endgame tie-in and is seen being played by Korg. Apparently it's still popular in 2023, but I guess, you know, not many people were still making video games because everyone was so sad. And also, I don't know much about Fortnite. I played like a minute of it and I was like, I will never be good at this. I give up. The Hulk also dabbed.
Oh, okay.
Tony Stark also said that
That made
initially
me jump.
and also calls in Ratchet, possibly a nod to Ratchet and Clank. Rhodey is also worried that spikes are going to pop out with skeletons on them when they go to retrieve the Power Stone. And that makes sense because that whole scene was initially based on the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Both Yvette Brown and Ken Jeong make cameos, continuing the run of Community stars appearing in the MCU, as the Russos were heavily involved in that show. It seems as if Ken Jeong had a bunch of lines that ended up cut because he says absolutely nothing in the film. He is, however, reading the book Terminal Beach, and one of the short stories it contains is called Endgame. Also, the name Endgame, for the movie Endgame, it was first mentioned in Age of Ultron. It's also mentioned in other movies. It's not important. I just feel like I should mention it because people probably point out that. But yeah, we included it. It's in here. Don't even worry about it. Also, Thor's new look. It's very Big Lebowski-esque. He's even referred to as such by Tony Stark. At one point, he's even seen wearing a similar cardigan and sunglasses. Right, so because this was recorded before the weekend, there's probably a bunch of extra Easter eggs that I had forgotten that will now be edited in here. So these are those. And look, I've got bad news. You're going to have to read. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so we've got the shading done. Actually, not the shading. We've done the basic shape of the face, but the eyes roughly where I want them to be now. I was kind of happy with the nose as soon as I did it, so I'm leaving the nose as was. Just adding in a few lines here to sort of add sort of a shape to the face. But hopefully this video has been helpful to you guys. If it is, then definitely let me know in the comment section. I'd love to know what your thoughts are and if you guys have had a go yourself. Definitely, if you've watched the film, keep watching for some more chat and things about the film that has been 10 years coming. Oh, guys.
Okay, so post-credits. What we get is simply the noise of what sounds like Tony Stark constructing his first suit of armor when he's being held by terrorists in the cave. That could simply be a callback to Iron Man 1, but I think that it may also hint towards his return. As I mentioned earlier, I have made a video about the post-credits that includes a bunch of potential ways that we could see him again that I'll link at the end of this video and below. And I'd say, look, yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. This Monday on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, we're going to be doing our spoiler review of Avengers Endgame. What we loved, what we didn't, what has opened up for the future of the MCU, and more. Should be a good one. That's linked below. But before you jump on over to that, if you do have any notable Easter eggs that you didn't see listed here, please feel free to add them in the comments. There's also a bunch of Endgame videos planned in the near future for this channel, so I'd love it if you subscribed for that. But regardless, thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you had a good weekend. Take care.
Right, let's actually put some ears in, shall we?
I haven't done a review in about a year because I don't like doing reviews because you come out of a movie, Mason to everyone.
Hi everyone.
Trying something different. We're gonna be doing a full review on the Weekly Planet next Monday. But the reason I kind of stopped doing it was because
You lost your touch.
I lost my
Give me a
touch.
second, guys. I'm going to find some more stuff to listen to because I think we're going into a different video now.
As long as you're in the room, really chipping away at your self-confidence, I guess.
Just rinsing me the whole time.
Yeah.
But the reason that I stopped, one of the reasons was because I didn't like coming directly out of a movie and then rushing a review.
Yes.
Because often I feel like my opinion would change. And coming out of Endgame, I think I'm going to feel differently about it a week from now as I do at the moment.
Oh, I think it's a
So you
review.
just completely reverse your policy, is what you're saying.
That's exactly
But
what
this
I'm
time,
saying.
it's a good thing that you're doing that.
No, but I think that's the way film should be in general. I think if you look back in 5 years, you're like, you know what, I liked that movie. Or I didn't like Moulin Rouge. Actually, the opposite for me. I didn't.
Okay, they're doing
You did like it. And if you want...
Okay, so I'm going to find something else to listen to, guys. What would you like to listen to? Let me know in the comment section. This is, again, it's going to be a spoiler video. So let's see what we got.
Sometimes the boldest act is to be absolutely candid with a foundation that shows the real.
Welcome to Games Radar. My name is Brandon. Today I'm joined by Sam, Zoe, and Leon.
Hello.
And last night we watched Avengers Endgame, and we have a lot of questions. I've got a list here of about 8, but I want to go through probably about 6.
Yeah, I want some of these
So
questions.
straight
If you've
off
got
the
any
bat,
questions
should
or
we
you want
mention
questions
the
answered, chat about, again, guys, leave some
Yeah.
comments down
If you
below.
clicked on this and didn't expect spoilers,
You're a
You
fool.
come to the wrong
oh,
place.
yeah, you should have been snapped.
Stop listening. Go away.
That's an insult now.
Yeah, so
Snapped.
spoilers ahead. Let's just jump straight in. What happened to Gamora?
She is like totally going to discover herself. If you think about how quickly things changed for her, like she found out, number one, future Nebula came to tell her that Thanos, surprise prize, was going to destroy everyone. And then in the space of what, like 3 hours, her father died, her sister who hated her died, her future sister saved her from her past sister who hated her, who died. And she found out she was apparently supposed to be in love with Quill, who she hated so much she kicked him in the balls twice.
She missed the first time.
Yeah, she didn't miss the
Then
first
she got
time.
both the second time.
Yeah.
And so, like, that whole timeline, just weirdly, because obviously she's dead, not snap dead, so couldn't be brought back,
Well,
wouldn't come back with the...
Future Gamora is dead.
Past
Present
Gamora.
Gamora. Thank you, yes.
Yes. But, like, so, obviously everything that happened to lead to that point only happened because she was killed, but now the timeline's disrupted so that never happens. It's like, it's not the classical sort of time travel. It's more like a film called Primer, which is an obscure reference, but it's the idea that the different timelines obviously become part of
The present.
yes. So you can't go back and, like they said, like when you go back to the past, your future becomes your past and you can't change it. But it's an absolute, like, are we swearing or bleeping?
Go for it.
It's
Swear
absolute-
away.
An absolute headfuck, because obviously everything they did throughout a whole film stops anything that made Infinity War come to pass.
If we try and think too much about time travel, it's going to break all of us.
Yeah.
Because even in the movie, Hulk is like, don't think about it because everything we know is wrong. The Back to the Future lied to us.
There's also like the potential that with Iron Man's clique, does she get taken with that because she's technically part of like Thanos' crew?
I feel like Quill wouldn't be searching for her if he knew
But it
she
just
was
said
dead.
searching though. Like you didn't technically
That's
see.
true.
No, we don't see what happens to her. We don't. She's not mentioned at all after the battle.
Surely
Yeah.
Nebula would
Like-
know. She would be like, also, what the fuck? Iron Man
Yeah.
killed my sister at the funeral. But that's a good point. I didn't think of
Yeah,
that.
did Iron Man think that she was an enemy?
That's
Well,
a good point.
I mean, we just looked at the
She is
gauntlet. The
at that
gauntlet
point,
is
right?
like, but the gauntlet is kind of like just essentially magic, because no one ever explained how it works. They're just like, I want this to happen, and
Because
yeah.
how do you control a clique?
Yeah.
What if you just think of puppies and then there's just hundreds of puppies?
If you turn into half the universe into puppies.
Yeah.
Or that you make all the puppies disappear. Dreadful
If you
thing.
can't keep
Leading
one
on.
more, yes.
That can lead us into our third question, or second question, sorry. What's happening with Guardians of the Galaxy? Do you think, obviously, Thor is officially joining the crew
He's
and they're going to
so
do some
chonky
more?
Thor. I love him.
Big Thor. Love it.
Chungus Thor.
Oh Lord, he's coming. He's definitely like in charge now, air quotation marks,
Mm.
in charge.
I saw a lot of
Have the
people
night
basically-
fight, you don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people basically saying that the Guardians 3 is going to be 4 Thor. No, 4 Thor. Oh, God.
Thor.
Four Thor, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it looks like their next movie is probably going to be them hunting down Gamora. I mean, that was what Quill was searching for.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting, because obviously he's going to have to kind of like, essentially like woo her all over again, because the Gamora he knew and fell in love with and loved him is dead and gone.
Yeah.
And now there's a whole new character that has never been through the journey. Because I mean, obviously, when they meet Guardians of the Galaxy, there's like, she's an enemy, isn't it? She's hunting
Mhm.
down the Power Stones. is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
the purple one.
Yeah, which, yeah, we can get to the Infinity Stones later. Yeah, so, but, like, they've got to go through that whole process again.
Mm.
I don't want to see that, though. I know they're going to
We've been there
be back
before,
in
right?
that.
Right?
It's like, yeah.
It takes too long. Just play her that sweet playlist that you played her on the
Yeah.
headphones.
Oh, that's so cute. I also like the fact that like it's Thor and the Guardians back together again. Like they have such a good dynamic. All of their bants from Infinity War. Like I would
Pirate
definitely
Angel.
watch that movie again. Like with
Absolutely.
new adventures.
I'm going to mention a thing I just thought just then. Obviously, in Guardians of the Galaxy, the whole thing is like you can't touch an Infinity Stone. That's the whole reason of like it leads to questions of Peter Quill's parentage, because he can physically hold an Infinity Stone. Everyone's like, how can you do that?
Mm.
This film, everyone's just poking them.
No,
Yeah.
no, they're not. No, hands down, they are not.
Ronnie literally just has one in his
Yeah,
hand.
he actually does.
Who does?
Ronnie.
Ronan.
When was that?
And the
Like,
Hulk.
When he
literally
wakes
just-
up,
he wakes
yeah.
up and he's just got the Soul Stone.
Yeah, but
they're all
the
just
Soul
picking
Stone
him up.
probably choose not to hurt him because it's the Soul Stone. Because Thanos could do that as well, and he didn't disintegrate in Infinity War. Also, Tony Stark totally knew about all the radiation, which is why he pushed that gauntlet specially.
Well,
I
he said,
reckon
like
it's
said,
gauntlet
mostly gamma
helps.
radiation, doesn't it? That's why
Yeah.
Hulk does it. But like the whole point leading up to it is like any attempt to touch a Power Stone, because that's what happens to the Red Skull, isn't it? He holds on with his bare hands, and boom, goes to Vormir and ends up being the guy from
I
Walking
guess
Dead.
Rocket has the red one in his little claw thing.
Yeah.
So
And
X
also,
Factor.
let's not forget that the stones did kill Tony. Like, he touched them, but he only lasted,
Yeah.
what, like a minute?
Yeah.
after?
And he didn't look like he
as
was
well.
he was completely with it at all after that. Like
No.
he pretty much died at the click and was kind of
Just
like almost like brain dead
fading away.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I just wanted to be clean, and I know he was saying goodbyes, but I was like, is he
So his
there?
light went out.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I feel like Potts was only there as rescue because they were suddenly like, well, we're definitely going to kill him, and we can't really just let him die without them saying goodbye. So we're going to have to bring rescue in, so she's there when it
And
happens.
there was like a whole foreshadowing with his daughter finding the helmet, and it's the guys that are making her a birthday
I love
present
that.
or something.
I love that.
I love that little girl more than life itself. I need her.
Love you 3000.
Cheers,
All the cheeseburgers. Moving
I
on
want
to
all the
Iron Man.
cheeseburgers.
Captain America, what happened there? The old Falcon, the whole shield trading
Oh.
Falcon,
shenanigans.
canonically, like Falcon is one of the Captain Americas like that takes over afterwards.
Right.
I think Bucky.
So I don't know
I think
too
Bucky
much
was a
about
Captain America
that.
as well for a little while because there was a bit in the Winter Soldier that hinted at the kind of. I think he picked up the shield or something. But they've both been. I think that's why they were there at the end because they've both been Captain Americas.
In terms of super strength, does Falcon have that?
No, this is the thing I'm curious about because basically all he's got is just some really cool wings. Like he hasn't got any super serum or anything like that.
But Shield is still out and about, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, hey, just FYI, I've now got the shield, so you're going to beef me up or what? Like,
Yeah.
unless, of course, it's going to be a new movie, it's going to be a new kind of Captain America.
Well,
like,
there is a Falcon and Winter Soldier Marvel TV show coming to Disney Plus.
that's a very good point.
It could be that like that ties up some of the loose ends because it's been we don't know much about it, but they've said that it will go deeper into their characters than ever before. So it could be that like they explain what's going to go on with Falcon becoming Captain America in that, and you know, does Winter Soldier play into that role as well? Because obviously he's been fixed and is now happy.
It'd be interesting to see how who's got what left on their contracts because I seem to remember Bucky, what's his name,
Stan Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan.
One of the ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
I seem to remember like he's sort of been signed up for an unusually large. Like there's a lot more films in his contract than people realise, and a lot of people get confused about like how much he was going to be in stuff because he had like a quite
cameos.
well, yeah, like I know, yeah. I mean, who's carrying over? There's going to be some people carrying over to sort of merge the films together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because Will Falcon lead like the new Avengers as like the sort of wise, sort of Nick Fury style person.
That was gonna be-
guide them in that way.
That's why I wanted the end credit scene to be. I sort of wanted to see like Falcon in like full Captain America gear, like assembling a new team, like of who's around at the moment. Kind of
Also,
thing.
he's now America's butt, so he's got to have.
That was
Good point.
That was funny. And before, obviously, Captain went into the whole time travel thing to replace or put back the stones. He went in with the hammer, didn't return with it.
I
Where
got
did
the
it go?
hammer?
I was
reckon he
thinking-
went back to Asgard to put it back there.
Yeah, maybe returned
Oh,
it when,
okay.
when he put
Because
the
Thor did
ether back.
take it.
He did.
Yeah.
Thor took it from when you went back to get the Redstone. I'm so bad at the name of the stones.
Reality Stone.
Yes.
Ether.
And when he saw his mum, which was also a lovely moment.
Yeah.
But he took it from there, so maybe Captain America knew that he had to return it to put the timeline back, because otherwise Thor won't have
I
his
wonder.
hammer for like all of the rest of the MCU.
I wonder if that's something that end up on the cutting room scene, cutting room floor, where there's like a scene for every bit where he's like putting it back somewhere, and it would have made it clearer that maybe he put the hammer back as well.
Yeah, because what I want to know is like you raised earlier about what happens when he returns the Soul Stone. Like, does he just like plop it on Black Widow's body, like being sorry? Like, how,
Yeah,
how does that
because he
work?
had to go back and put them at the point they were taken.
Yeah,
So that means he's literally there while Scarlet Widow is just like
Scarlet Widow. Black Widow.
Black Widow,
Black
sorry.
Handsome.
I was thinking of the blood. Like, I mean, he had to go back and kind of go up to the Red Skull guy and go like, "Thank you very much," whilst she's literally cooling on the floor below him. Like he could have
Well,
looked
he
over
could-
the edge and seen
Because
her.
he can't put it back before she's died, because she can't come. Like, it's so confusing.
This is why
I didn't think of that.
The banner, yeah, the banner ancient one conversation was like the stones have to be returned like exactly the point they were taken to stop the branches, like the bad branches happening.
Unless, of course, it is a soul stone, so her body might not have been there anymore. Like, there is
Yeah.
that question about like what actually happened to
Dead
people who were
is
killed.
dead.
No,
Like,
but like
But
Yeah.
like
What happens to her
logistically,
body?
where
Well, actually, no,
does
yes,
her physical body
Because
go?
you did see Gamora in the Soul Stone
Yes.
as a child.
Saying, is
when
it worth it?
yeah, like what did it cost?
Yeah.
Because like Gamora, present Gamora and Black Widow are just in the Soul Stone having like a little party together. Like I hope so.
Oh god, I
That'd be nice.
I hope Black Widow is happy. She deserves happiness. I love her so much.
And what we're saying like Thor and Captain Iron Man, he uses the bloody hammer.
Yes,
That was-
yes, he
I was expecting
does.
that.
I loved it.
Because he goes like when you see him pick up the hammer, like Thor's like I knew it because he had that little wobble, didn't you? In Age of Ultron, is it? When they're all trying to pick it up, like
The little meeting.
The whole cinema was like, oh, amazing.
that was probably one of the biggest like holy shit moments when you did feel like the whole cinema go.
It happened.
I always wonder like how he could use it now. Is it because obviously he's worthy, but
What happened in between Ultron and now to make him genuinely worthy to wield it? Because in Ultron he could only, like Leon said, he could only wobble
I
it.
guess because of the journey he's been on, like through the whole like Infinity War thing. You know, he carried like he went off, did the Nomad thing, came back, and then he also carried that whole Infinity War weight, and that's like changed. And there's a whole scene where you see him looking in the mirror, and the beard's gone rip beard.
They got snapped away.
yeah, I always wonder.
But that's obviously changed him into someone who's worthy.
Yeah, because he kept the secret of Tony Stark's parents, didn't he, about Bucky?
Yeah.
I always wonder if because he just told him the truth, the hammer's like, you're a nice person here.
And also he's been trying to help people through the snap when he had that like meeting at the beginning. Like when he talks to Black Widow, he's like, I've been trying to tell people to move on. So he is.
I can't.
Yeah, he's like.
Says
putting
the
himself
man
last.
who's carrying his like dead sweetheart's face in a compass
Hey,
for like
back
10
off.
years.
Leave him alone.
He's definitely moved on.
When he could have, right?
He could have what?
Had a kid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's where the hammer went. I don't know.
No, the hammer went back to Asgard.
Yeah.
If I thought we'd
Okay.
have a hammer. Oh, I did love this one though.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
can we give some love to Thor's new rounder figure for a second? And how refreshing it is to see different body types on the screen for guys
Yes.
as well as gals.
Big
It's
up
so
the Fortnite
good.
gameplay as well. with
Yes.
Trolling the online trolls.
When it's
Imagine
new
him playing the
master.
new mode in
Oh,
the movie. That would have been like
genius. Yeah.
Inception.
God, save
Okay,
us
moving
all.
towards the end of the movie now. Obviously, Iron Man passes. Who's going to be the next Iron Man lady?
Sam's been the one researching this,
How
right?
to research it.
Go on,
What's
Sam.
the deets?
Well, it's either going to be Rescue, Pot's taking over, or War Machine could take over. He's already got his own suit. He could take up that mantle. But there's also like a few like wild cards. Obviously, there's Shuri, Black Panther's kid sister, who's always been known as like his intellectual counterpart. He's already like shit hot at technology from all of her
So
Wakanda
good.
stuff.
I forget which of the directors was, but one of the directors like said emphatically like she's the most intelligent person in the MCU.
So it could be that she becomes the new Iron Man.
And it
She's
was
obviously
tied
got
with
those
like
little
Riri, who's the comic
blaster
book
things.
one.
Yes, yeah, Riri Williams, who's like a kid genius who actually gets mentored by Iron Man
She
to
becomes
become the new Iron Man.
Ironheart, yeah.
But then my theory is that like as my Captain Marvel obsession grows, Monica, who's her friend's daughter in it, who is obviously a badass and really, really clever, jokes about building her own spaceship. Now in the comics, she actually becomes
Okay, I'm going to pause that there. Right, I think I'm pretty much happy with that face of Tony Stark. It's obviously not exact likeness, but I've never been able to do an exact likeness of a face, of anybody's face. But yeah, what do you think, guys? I need you to tell me what you think in the comment section. If you're watching live, which I know somebody is, thank you very much for doing that. I'm just having a quick look what it looks like back to front, because I can see this here as I do, and then the back to front. So I'm looking at that cheek there. It's looking a bit chunky. So let's thin it down a bit. Looking a bit better. Square his face out, because what I've noticed when I was drawing just a minute there, yeah, it's got quite a square face, and it's really handy to have that beard there as well. Gives the mouth a good shape, because you can never really, I could never get a mouth right in the right position and things like that. I do my best, but you guys have seen how I draw by now. You'll know that my style is sort of on its way. Giving it a bit of shade. Right, I'm not going to give it too much shade though. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with the way that that's looking. So it'd be nice to digitize this one actually. I'm going to work on the gauntlet now. If you guys haven't already realized through listening to what we're listening to, he has a gauntlet. He has got a gauntlet. He makes his own gauntlet to house the Infinity Stones. As you know, they go back in time and they get those Infinity Stones for themselves because Thanos does destroy them. Again, guys, I can't spoil. You by now you'll be no spoilers, but yeah, I'm gonna listen to some more of what I've been listening to and get this picture for the gauntlet finished. I need to find a picture of the gauntlet itself, but I also kind of need to find an arm or a picture of its arm. So maybe I should just map out the hand here. Again, I already quickly mapped out the hand, as you can see. So I'm going to try and use my own hand here. Already kind of mapped out the hand and where the hand would be. So now it's just sort of getting the right shape. Again, with the you can square it out, kind of similar. Maybe I could actually do it this way. Because his arm is kind of large and it's not muscular, it's robotic or an armored casing. So it does have all stones. So if I was to, I shouldn't have done those fingers first. These bits here aren't going to be there because it's a fist. Let's get rid of those. Mapped out the eyes. Mapped out the eyes. Mapped out the button in there. Mapped the fingers. We'll square these up a little bit. It's always a good idea to do a basic sketch first, guys, as you saw just on the face, how quickly and easier it is to have a face, sort of sketch face, and then you go in with your details and things like that. Always, unless you really are that good, then go for it. Go for a straight off the bat. But I always do construction lines and things like that first, purely because it's just a bit easier. I'm going to have to get a good color scheme and what it looks like. Because, well, technically, actually, he's using his own gauntlet. He does something with the gauntlet of his own. I never know what to do with the hand. No, let's put that back on my sketch.
Captain Marvel, but it could be that they're seeding her to become a bigger part of the MCU because she did have quite a big part in Captain Marvel. But that's just my theory. Is like Captain Marvel for the win. But,
I believe that. Yeah, I'd say either Shuri or what's her name?
Monica.
Monica, yeah, I see it. These are those two. I think so.
And looping that in, obviously the kid at the funeral, which nobody really knew, but
He is the kid from Iron Man 3 that like puts Tony Stark up in his garage.
the one who kind of saves him.
Yeah.
The super funny one.
He's so grown up now.
Oh, yeah,
It's the same actor as well.
Yeah.
Didn't Iron Man leave him some bits as well?
I think
Or
he left
am
him
I-
his old suit, didn't he? Like his broken one. That he left in the garage before he built one. I'm only making that up because that film came out very long time ago.
No, I think he did. I think he left something, so that could be
Yeah.
potentially.
It's such a weird thing to throw in the film because like literally everyone's like, "Who's the kid?" Like,
Yeah, it was a long pan as well. It wasn't
Yeah, it's
like
like, just a
a.
little stop on the
Yeah.
like, who that? There's so many lovely Easter eggs in that movie.
It tied, it didn't, it pinched off like every possible sense. I don't think there was anything left playing apart from all these questions about time travel and stuff. But like,
Yeah,
in
there's
terms
going to
of,
be a phase 4, so they have to leave
Yeah.
some things
but
unanswered.
narrative-wise, there was just loads of like closure for like almost everyone in it.
Well-rounded
We should
off,
talk
yeah.
about the lack of the post credits. Like I know that there was like an audible groan in the movie theater that we were in. Like I kind of knew that there wasn't going to be a post credit sequence, but there is a post credits noise.
Can I rant real quick about what I
Yes.
think that is? So either it's someone building a new suit of Iron Man armor, because it's the sound of metal on metal, definitely like blacksmithing welding.
No.
Or potentially,
wrong.
I thought it was Etri, if that's how to pronounce his name, the dwarf who creates Stormbreaker, like maybe creating a new kind of weapon.
I think it's just like a kind of like where it all began thing because if
Yeah.
you ignore
It's an homage.
Ed Norton Incredible Hulk, which was officially the start of the MCU,
Thanks.
like it all begins
Iron
with
Man
Tony
Iron
Stark,
Man, yeah.
making the cave suit, which is with a hammer and a forge, whereas like I think a modern suit of armor would be all like Jarvis
Gizmos and
laser
gadgets,
arms
yeah.
and things. Yeah, like that. I think that is like that's the hammer blow that kind of started it all. I say ignoring poor old Ed Norton, who I wonder how he feels about that now.
Really serious FOMO.
Do you know what I always
Both.
feel? I'm really curious to see what they're like. Is the first guy who played War Machine? I can't think of his name. He kicked
I'll
up.
Google it real quick.
He kicked up a stink about more money, and they were like, "Fine, we'll get someone else." Like, but he was originally cast as War Machine. I can't even remember the character's name now.
War Machine's been in a lot.
And then Don Cheadle took over, and he's obviously like that's his.
Cheese.
But yeah, like there was a. Oh God, I can see his face as well. But yeah, somewhere he must be sitting at home going, "Yeah, I'm fine. I don't care. It's fine.
Terrence
I'm fine.
Howard.
I'm fine."
Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
Oh boy, if you Google War Machine, old War Machine, there is some choice gossip that comes up in Google, which I am not going to repeat here. So do look gossip.
Okay, I think that's all the big questions, really. There is a few more that we haven't got the time. We don't want to keep you here forever, really. The rat.
Oh my
The
god,
rats,
the
the-
rat.
Literally,
See,
the
What
world,
is this?
the
But that's
world,
the rat
the
that when
rat
it
treads on the
started.
treads on the truck.
Oh, the ant in the Ant-Man's
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if that rat doesn't happen to tread on those exact combination buttons,
Oh, I see.
Ant-Man doesn't come back. No
The
time
whole
travel.
movie doesn't happen.
Like when
One rat.
when Doctor Strange is talking about like 14 million whatever combinations, he's not talking about like anything other than just what buttons the rat treads on.
That is definitely it.
He
Wow.
needs
All
a
those
knighthood. He needs a knighthood.
An honorary member of the Avengers.
Yeah.
In the next
In a
movie,
little
he's just
outfit.
like in the next movie, he's just like in a little cage in the background, like their mascot or
They
something.
changed it from like the Avengers Age as like a little rat
Yes.
logo, just like. But like, do they even know that? Does Ant-Man know that like that's how he got brought back? Like he just appears in like a storage unit, being like, "Oh, what the fudge, man?"
Yeah, that's crazy. Poor old Doctor Strange has gone through all that. Watch that rat miss it a billion times. Don't step on it. Okay. So that's it from us. If you have any more questions that we haven't answered, make sure to drop them in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
You know.
I'll see them. You'll see me. Still here. Still drawing. Hang on a sec. We'll get rid of that.
We're going in 3, 2.
1. Carry on. I'll grab this one. Again, I'm using one screen, guys, so bear with me. I am going to be getting there. Taking my time. But it's coming together well. It is coming together well. I don't know about you, but definitely I agree. Oh, another review. Yeah, beautiful. Let's leave that playing.
1. Let's go get this.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Avengers Endgame full review. Hopefully you've had a chance to see the movie. Everything we've been doing the last 10 years in this universe has been building to this. So we got to talk about everything. About these character arcs, how we feel like they left these characters, how well their character arcs work in general, how well the movie works just as a movie by itself, because it is a crazy big movie. There is so much stuff going on during this. Be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. It's only going to get crazier leading up into Spider-Man Far From Home at the beginning of July. So there's going to be a lot of Marvel stuff happening between now and then. We'll do a new round of the Infinity Gauntlet giveaway. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave an Avengers comment on the video. Obligatory spoiler warning. Careful for spoilers for Avengers Endgame if you have not seen it yet, because we'll be talking about very specific parts of the movie. So here we go. Avengers Endgame. Part of the story is the end. Every story has an end. That's why Kevin Feige said that the biggest idea that they had for this movie is, wouldn't it be revolutionary for superhero movies if we actually had an end to their story? Whereas in the traditional comic book genre, what you'll find is they'll just reboot titles when they bring on new artists, or they'll have a big universe reboot when they feel like things aren't working or people aren't really interested in the stories that they're telling anymore. Like, we're bringing in a bunch of new artists, we're just going to wipe the slate clean and pretend like all the things that happened to these characters did not happen. We're going to start fresh from square one, where they really can't do that with the movies. Like, you have actors that are slowly aging out of their characters, people like Chris Evans that are ready to stop playing their characters. So how do you give them an ending to their story that feels definitive and feels like the right ending, that fans won't just assume you're going to roll back with the very next movie that you release? Like, Spider-Man Far From Home is the next movie that's coming out after this, but Kevin Feige is calling it the tail end, like a little holdover from Marvel Phase 3 and not technically part of Phase 4. That's a whole other thing. There are a couple of plot twists during the movie that leave you with a couple really big questions coming out. In terms of Avengers movies, every once in a while you'll see something that seems like a...
Sorry guys, if you're watching now, you're going to be getting some spoilers, but I am drawing.
Just more unanswered questions that they'll answer with the future movies. Like Spider-Man Far From Home will answer all of your Spider-Man questions that you have after Avengers Endgame. So the movie is a bookend for the last 10 years of Marvel films, what they're calling the Infinity Saga, the last 22 films. I feel like they did provide a fairly definitive end. It definitely feels like an ending, the way they lead the characters. But as a longtime MCU fan, not just a general moviegoer, I feel like the movie was a little more rewarding for me because I recognized all of the Easter eggs and references they baked in. There are a lot of moments during the film when they're jumping around to different points in the other movies from the MCU where people might not recognize references. Like, why is the audience laughing so much when Captain America makes this very specific reference? There are even references to deleted scenes from other Marvel movies that people wouldn't recognize unless you're a hardcore Marvel fan and you actually watch all of the deleted scenes and bonus features from every single Marvel movie. So as an audience member going to see a movie, your mileage will vary depending on how long you've been a Marvel fan and how deeply you've been a Marvel fan. I've had a chance to see the movie again since I posted my non-spoilery review earlier this week after the premiere, and I will still say I double down on the fact that it is a love letter to the characters, the original 6 Avengers particularly, and a love letter to the fans. But as a movie, it feels a little bit more like a big event piece, like you go to a theme park like Disneyland and you experience the world of Marvel. It's kind of like that, but put into a movie, and it's so different in terms of tone and pacing than Infinity War that a lot of people who are just casual Marvel fans might actually like Infinity War more than Avengers Endgame, because there's so much more character work being done during Avengers Endgame. There are actually long stretches of the film where there is no action scenes. It's really not until like the third act so they get to their really big Infinity War level action. But when they do, it is over the top. I will say that they're getting a lot better at handling those everybody at once scenes when things get so crazy on screen. So even though it seems like they have hundreds and hundreds of characters on screen at the same time, it still feels like you're able to orient yourself and understand what's going on and follow the action of the main character that you're supposed to be following during the scene. So here's where we got to get really specific about the characters, talk about their arcs, how we feel like they left them off. So we'll say careful for spoilers one more time, because we'll be talking about the endings of these characters, starting with Captain America. One of my biggest surprises of the film is that they did not kill Captain America, because Chris Evans had been talking about leaving the character for so long. Like, he wanted to just go off and do other things before the film came out. The Russos were like, well, you know, Chris Evans might not be playing Captain America anymore, but he might not be completely done in the MCU. You'll understand what that means after the film comes out. Now we actually know what that means. He's actually going to participate in a special Marvel What If TV show. I'll talk about that when I talk about more Phase 4 stuff, but he'll continue to play Captain America in the past in other projects. So Chris Evans will still be a version of Captain America, just not the one in present day, because now we have Old Man Cap. And I know there are a lot of questions about the logic of how we wind up with Old Man
What it needs to do now, guys, is add in
time travel during the
wording
I'll talk a little bit more
of
about
I am Iron Man.
time travel when I do Easter eggs and breakdown videos. But I do feel like they gave him a good ending, even if it wasn't the ending you wanted. It was a definitive ending for the character. They gave him a version of what he'd been fighting for this whole time. Like he has the conversation with Tony during the film where he tells him to get a life. He has the kid, he has Pepper Potts. You need to get a life like me. So he's sitting there thinking about it. And during the film, he comes to the conclusion. So at the end of the film, when he goes back to be with Peggy Carter, it feels like something that he'd wanted this whole time, but just hadn't been willing to let himself have. For the most part, I've been seeing two reactions to that story. Either people are happy that he got that happy ending of sorts, or two, they're just confused about the logic of the time travel. Talking about Iron Man, though, obviously the other big character of the film. I said it earlier this week, all the actors bring their A game. Their performances are fantastic. And I think a little more rewarding for longtime MCU fans, like you have the Cap versus Cap moment. That really is America's ass. I could do this all day. Yeah, I got it. I know. I've got eyes on Loki. That was actually the moment referencing the Thor: The Dark World deleted scene when Loki turned into Captain America that I mentioned earlier. My opinions about the Iron Man arc are a little bit different just because their take on the Iron Man character in the MCU is so different from comic book Iron Man. So comic book Iron Man does not get married, he doesn't have any children, he does have successors, but it's a very Batman battle for the cowl situation where people try to take up his legacy, but nobody can ever quite measure up. So eventually Iron Man himself finds a way to come back, like during Civil War II, where he winds up going into this weird trance-like coma state, then coming back after they rebooted all the titles. So a lot of people went into the movie expecting to see some twist like that, whereas Doctor Strange said this was the only way that things could go down. I can't tell you what's going to happen because if I do, it won't wind up happening. And because Robert Downey Jr. is getting older and more expensive for them to hire. So I think part of the reason for the way they let Iron Man go out was to solve a bunch of practical problems and to give him a definitive end to the character, a situation that he would not try to weasel out of using his intellect. Maybe I'll wisecrack my way out of this situation. So I do commend them for trying to do the revolutionary thing of having consequences stick. He uses the gauntlet and they stick to the rules that they set up during the movie. It almost kills Thanos to use the gauntlet twice. Like you see him hobbling early in the film, like he's barely alive anyway. He's so weak. Then when the Hulk tries to use it, Hulk is completely messed up Thanos style. Like he doesn't heal the way Hulk would normally heal. So when you see a normal person like Iron Man use it, there have to be consequences. Of course, he's not going to survive that moment. And the twist that they send him out on is just as subversive as the twist that they brought him in on. Like it was a really big deal that a superhero would reveal his identity openly to everyone. I am Iron Man, and the press just explodes. Oh my God, he revealed his secret identity. It's a big deal that they actually stick to consequences and let him go out using the logic that they set up earlier in the film. Comic book movies are famous for ignoring the own rules that they set up during films. So I know there's a lot of questions about the logic of certain twists of the film. But like Kevin Feige said, after Infinity War, we felt like we'd never seen the heroes lose before. People feel like comic book heroes always win. The heroes will always win. Well, what happens when they don't win? So that's your Infinity War Empire Strikes Back ending. But like he also said, we also feel like people have never seen an ending for these characters. Would it be revolutionary if there was an ending to their story? So even if you're not really happy about what they did with the Iron Man character and you wanted it to go down a different way, I do give them extra points for trying to do something so subversive. Like, wow, I thought we were just going to keep seeing versions of this character until Robert Downey Jr. was 100 years old. How crazy that they would do it this way. One of the greatest lines of the movie, I love you 3000. I love that moment with Iron Man. And even if it is kind of weird to see the character with a child, like I said, very different from comic book Iron Man, I feel like
I thought that was a bit weird that they did that
with that child actor. Largely, I think that's just because Robert Downey Jr. is such a fantastic actor and sold that stuff so well. Thor was also one of the more controversial characters during the movie. Your mileage will vary on Thor depending on how much you like comedic Thor. Some people just like really serious, badass Thor. Some people like the more emotionally accessible Thor that gets to tell jokes and sort of be in on the fun with everyone else. I was surprised at their choice to go with thick Thor, thick with 2 C's. You could give him 3 C's. He had a pretty big gut, but I feel like by the time they got to that third action scene where you see him in the background of shots, they sort of slimmed him down a little bit with CG. You've probably been watching the movie and watching Chris Hemsworth do all these fitness videos on his Instagram the past couple of weeks, so it's really ironic to watch him and see beer belly Thor while Chris Hemsworth is being super fit in real life. I'm assuming they just use a combination of prosthetics and special effects to make him look fat during the film. It wasn't like Chris Hemsworth gained 60 pounds during the span of a couple of weeks just to film these scenes. I'm really excited about the idea of as Guardians of the Galaxy in future movies. I get what they were going for with his character. They wanted him to be just completely dejected, depressed, not being able to deal with what happened during the movie, not getting past his grief. I loved all the scenes that he got with his mother. Obviously, I loved all the action scenes towards the end of the film where he's dual wielding. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about the big action scenes. Because some of the big twists, like the one with Thor's hammer, were things from the comics that we've been waiting for this whole time. So the movie tried to pay off a lot of things that have been happening, they've been setting up for the past 10 years. So that's why it feels like more of a big event for the fandom instead of just a traditional movie. So I will rank this with my top 5, maybe top 10 Marvel films at the end of this. I was a little upset about what they did with the Hulk during the film. I love Professor Hulk. Mark Ruffalo is great as Professor Hulk, just like a very chatty, more emotionally accessible version of the character. Because remember, it's a blending of both of their personalities. So you get the mind of Banner, but he also gets some of the baser instincts of the Hulk, which is why he feels so chatty and he's telling even more jokes. Because typically Banner is a little more reserved. But there were a couple of things during the movie that they just completely sped through. And one of them was Professor Hulk. Like, you just show up and he's already Professor Hulk. They don't give you that moment. He explains it rather than them showing it to you. There were a couple moments during the film that sort of drug and slowed things down a little bit that I felt like they could have gotten rid of in favor of giving you more big payoffs with the characters. Like, it would have been better to spend more time with the Hulk setting up the Professor Hulk twist than to watch Ant-Man walk all over the place learning about what happened after the snap. I feel like after he came out of the quantum realm, he could have just gone straight to Cassie's, learned what happened, then gone straight to the Avengers. You don't really need all those other scenes of him just wandering around on the street looking at all the devastation. So I felt like they spent a little too much time early in the film waiting to build up to the team coming back together. But some of those early Iron Man scenes when he first comes back and he's still just a little bit crazy from being stuck in space were fantastic. So I was happy that they included a little bit of that. The Black Widow Hawkeye stuff during the film, probably the best scenes that we've gotten with those characters in the last 10 years. Their emotional arc during the film was great. Scarlett Johansson, some of her best Black Widow, especially early in the film. And then when she and Hawkeye are arguing about who's going to take the hit so that they can get the Soul Stone, that was perfect. And thankfully, Hawkeye was not a joke during the film. There are a lot of Hawkeye Easter eggs that we'll talk about because he has that Marvel Phase 4 TV show that's coming up that I think that they were seeding during this. Oh, the cameos were great. I love the Stan Lee cameo. Make love, not war. The funny thing is they dressed him up to look like real-life 70s Stan Lee, because Stan Lee was very active during that period. The early 70s was when he transitioned from working on regular comic books every week to becoming the Marvel publisher. And Joe Russo's cameo was a big surprise too. Jim Starlin also within the same breath. Like, you're on Joe Russo, then boom, Jim Starlin also in that same support group. I know there are a lot of questions about the logic of some of the twists, like they set some characters out in a very definitive way, but then characters from the past come back into present day. So technically you still have some versions of characters running around. So why then couldn't they go into another timeline and grab a past version of Iron Man and Black Widow and bring them into present day? Like I said, I'll talk about that more during Easter eggs, but I think mostly it's in favor of giving them a definitive ending. And if they'd gone right back and got another Iron Man and Black Widow, it would have completely trampled on the endings that those characters got. I was fine with the way that they handled time travel, but you need to understand that they're going with Dragon Ball Z Future Trunks time travel rules. They're not going with Back to the Future or Terminator rules. Every time they go back into the past and change something, it only creates another timeline. It does not change their future. So the future that they go back to will always be the same. Even though there were a lot of questions they did not answer at the end of the film and so much was happening, I'm sure you have a billion questions about the ending of the film. I did feel like they stuck the landing. They gave all these characters a nice bookend. It feels like an end for the Avengers, even though there will be more Avengers films. It'll just be
They very did, but it's the what they did is they ended the saga that everybody began with. It's an epic saga. It's one of these. It's going to be going down as a saga, and then there'll be another saga.
fans.
I don't want it to end, but it's giving me closure almost, I think, guys. I don't know about you. Definitely, again, let me know in the comment section what you thought.
Seeing Avengers Endgame a couple times, starting with number 5, the original Guardians of the Galaxy film, still feel like that's better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 4, Avengers Infinity War. 3, Avengers Endgame. 2, the original Iron Man movie. There'd be no MCU if there was no successful Iron Man. I am Iron Man. They even sent him off on that very iconic moment. And then 1, my favorite is still Winter Soldier, which they referenced so many times during the film. So many of the moments, even when they were in 2012, were referencing Winter Soldier moments. Hail Hydra. Does anybody want to get off this elevator? So once you have a chance to see the movie, or if you've already seen it, just let me know where you rank this movie with your other.
Where you rank that movie? Let me know. And again, if you want to know where I get all of my information from, what I'm listening to, if you want to listen to more of their podcasts, because I've listened to little bits and I've gone to somebody else, let me know in the comment section, and I'll try and put a link there for you. But what time are we looking at? We're looking at 3 o'clock. This is taking me an hour to get done again, so I'm quite happy with that. We'll be back again tomorrow with some inking. We'll be getting my fine line inking pen and adding some shading and some ink to this one. If you have enjoyed it, guys, definitely let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks for watching. My name has been Blut084, BLUT084. And don't forget, I am Iron Man.